Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Adrian and today we are doing a list of 5 series that I will be reading in 2022. I promised I will. These are series I should have got to a lot sooner, but I haven't, and I am making the executive decision that this year is the year for these series. So let's jump in with these 5 quite big name series that I am going to start reading this year. In at number 1 is the First Law trilogy. This is by Joe Abercrombie. This is a series that is widely praised as the greatest grimdark series. Joe Abercrombie goes by their handle Lord Grimdark on Twitter. So you get a feel for what you're going to be getting into in this series. It starts with the Blade itself. And actually, I have already started the Blade itself. I'm about 30% of the way through it currently. So really enjoying it so far. And this is definitely going to be the year of Abercrombie for me as my main starting point in this set of series that I want to be reading this year. Many of the critiques I hear of the First Law trilogy, and especially of book 1, The Blade itself, is that it lacks on plot, that the character work is great and outstanding and it only gets better, but it lacks on plot. Now, I've not felt that too acutely so far in what I have read, but I am aware that it could start to meander, so we'll see how that goes. But the character work already is absolutely outstanding, and I can definitely see this being a series I love. And I'm a little bit disappointed that I've not actually picked it up earlier. I hear so much about the series and I've just put it off, but I'm really enjoying it from the small amount I've read so far. The next series I want to get to in 2022 is The Gentleman Bastards by Scott Lynch. This starts with The Lies of Locke Lamora. This is not a completed series, unlike The First Law. There is still books coming out in it, if somewhat slowly. But I have heard so many wonderful things. So many people absolutely adore The Lies of Locke Lamora, especially book 1. Again, I'm surprised I haven't got to it yet. It is again one of these series that is widely praised, one of the most well-known fantasy series that I've just not got to yet. I've not read anything by Scott Lynch, so I am very interested to jump in. The setup and the structure of book 1 sounds relatively interesting, with a lot of flashbacks, which I know can be off-putting for some people. For me, flashbacks, I don't hate them that much, so I'll be interested to see how I feel about them in this work. But yes, absolutely looking forward to catching up with where The Gentleman Bastards is up to and getting into this series for the first time. So the third series I want to be getting to in 2022, and this is another completed trilogy. This is by N.K. Jemisin, and it is the Broken Earth trilogy. So that's starting with the 5th season, which is up there behind me. Now, this, as I said, is by N.K. Jemisin. I have read one thing by N.K. Jemisin so far, and that is a short story called Emergency Skin. I did really enjoy it. I thought it was very good. I've heard so many amazing things about this series. This series, every single book in it won the Hugo Award, so you can see it is highly praised and well regarded. Again, just like Lies of Locke Lamora, this has an interesting structure in the first book from what I can tell. One of the point of views is in second person. I don't think I've ever really read any prose of any length in second person, so I'm very interested to see how that feels and what the purpose of that is. But this again is very dark fantasy. It sounds very dystopian and grim, and should be an interesting read. Again, much like the Joe Abercrombie books, it is very much dark and depressing from what I have heard. It'll be very interesting to read more from N.K. Jemisin. I think she has a very interesting voice and perspective on things, and I really want to jump into more and more of her fantasy works. So looking forward to jumping into this trilogy and seeing what I make of it. Fourth series I want to get to in 2022. This one is a much newer series. In fact, the final installment in this trilogy only came out at the end of 2021, and this is the Green Bone Saga by Fonda Lee. So this starts with Jade City. For multiple years now, I have been hearing people absolutely rave about Jade City and Jade War, and even Jade Legacy now. Like, people love this series. They love the fact that it's much more urban, that it's got this much more modern fantasy feel to it. They love the Asian-inspired Jade-based magic system and sort of the drug smuggling wire-esque vibes thrown into a fantasy setting that you get from it, apparently. So it sounds interesting to me. As someone who loves certain urban fantasies, such as the Dresden Files, I absolutely adore, but other urban fantasies don't quite do it for me. I'm very interested to see how this one goes and where this series sits. Now, it is urban in the sense of being more modern and built up, but not in the sense that it is set in the real world. So that is quite different. I know that's how some people describe urban. For me, urban fantasy I normally think of as being set in our world, not in a secondary world. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out in this series. I know that people have very strong feelings about certain characters in it. I know that there's a lot of morally grey or just evil stuff going on as well, that the characters are likeable even if you don't actually agree with them a lot of the time. So I'm very interested to see how Fonda approaches that. I have not read anything by Fonda, so very excited to jump into the Greenbone saga at some point here in 2022. And then the last series I'm going to be talking about today is a book series by one of my favourite authors, by Daniel Abraham, and this is The Dagger and the Coin. Now, this starts with The Dragon's Path, and it's a series I've been wanting to get to for a while. There is a new Daniel Abraham book, starting a new Daniel Abraham series coming out this year called The Age of Ash, which I will definitely get to as well. But as far as a completed series goes, I want to jump into The Dagger and the Coin. Now, The Dragon's Path, which is the first book I have read the first couple of chapters of at some point a few months ago. Unfortunately, life got in the way. I was struggling a little bit. I picked up other things, but I am sure this is a series I'm going to love, and I really, really want to get to it. If it is anything like The Long Price Quartet, which I adore, then I'm going to be very, very interested. Now, I know the setting here is much more traditional medieval European fantasy compared to the more Asian-inspired fantasy of The Long Price Quartet. However, I'm sure that the setup is going to be worth the execution that we're going to get at the end. Daniel Abraham has proven to me in his one series I have read that he knows how to do setup, and he knows how to build things to a great crescendo, and he knows how to do payoff. And I'm sure that this is going to be the same in The Dagger and the Coin. I've heard from many people that they love this series a lot more than they like The Long Price Quartet. I know that's a bit slow for some people, but I am hoping that this will be at least as good for me. If this is anywhere near the level of The Long Price Quartet, then this is going to be an absolutely incredible read this year. So there we go, 5 pretty well-known series that I really want to get to in 22. Some of them I've been putting off for far too long. Some of them I've been waiting for books to come out in and to finish off arcs. And some of them I have just heard about and want to jump into. So let me know down below what you want to be getting to, what series you want to be reading in 2022, what have you been putting off for too long and you need to get onto. So hopefully you've enjoyed that, hopefully it's been informative, and I'll see you guys again soon.